mother quat.
Who the is that guy?
I'm better than you. And you know it.
Isn't it?
This is The Law. Live audio wrestling with the latest news, info, and interviews from the world of pro wrestling, mixed martial arts, and the best of combat sports worldwide. Now, here are your hosts, Chris Tidwell and Bradie Whetham.
It only mean one thing. Yes, yes, yes. This is The Law. Live audio wrestling back yet again for another week of craziness that is everything in sports, entertainment, and combat sports and everything around it. I am your host, Chris Tidwell, otherwise formerly known as Notorious T.I.D. inside of the professional wrestling world, but nobody gives a dang about that. All of you listening to us on all of your podcast providers, Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, please, thank you so much. If you're not, you can always go check it out at The Law Live Audio Wrestling. And if you're watching this on YouTube or you're not watching it on YouTube, you can always go check it out there as well. Yes, we've just put a little dash in the name. That's it, just a little dash for YouTube. So it's The Law Live Audio Wrestling. Of course, none of this would be possible without my co-host, as usual, Bradie Whetham. How you doing this week, brother? I feel like it's been one of those weeks where, I mean, should we even talk about any of this stuff? Let's just talk about the Super Bowl, right?
Yo, it's the Three Dog, and I'm here to make your wasteland travels a little bit better. Life's a work. How are you, Chris? What's going on, man?
Man, it has, it's been a wild week. So wild, in fact, that we actually did one of those like emergency weird kind of episodes trying to break some stuff down really late night on a Friday, put it up on the Saturday for everybody to see. And if you haven't checked it out yet, please go do so. You can go check that out on the video form over on the YouTube channel. If you haven't yet, then please go over there, like, subscribe, hit that share button, throw a comment down. But I mean, even since then, it's been wacky. And we're going to get into all of that this week, right?
We 100% are going to talk about a little bit of everything. We're going to talk about the UFC. We're going to talk about some combat sports. We'll talk about pro wrestling. Do you want to give a quick rundown of what we're doing here this week?
Well, 100%, because I mean, listen, everything is always evolving, and you can see now, because this is over here in the video form, you can see that we are going to actually talk about, we're going to talk about the real reason the WWE Universe is pissed off at the fact that The Rock, Cody Rhodes, and Roman Reigns is now some happy threesome thing happening because Cody's out, Rock is in, Roman is there, Seth is out, CM Punk is out, WrestleMania is crazy, and the fans don't like it. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk a little bit about who is going to be headlining UFC 300 and why they should be headlining that. The front runners, of course, Israel Adesanya, Leon Edwards, and of course, Conor McGregor, but we're going to break that down a little bit as well. We've also got the big question of the week is how can Vince McMahon stay out of jail?
We can finish this right now. Just money or death. That's the only way he's staying out of prison.
The allegations are crazy, and we're going to, talk a little bit about that. Not too much, a little bit, because everything is still open to interpretation and the court of law as this goes forward.
Well, if you want to hear us talk about it in detail, you can go to the YouTube channel. We did upload a video, like Chris said, late night, and we did go into detail about some of this stuff. Now, a lot of it got cut out. YouTube is not too friendly. So we took out, it's nothing too extreme, but we do talk about this in detail for about a half an hour. So
absolutely. And of course, for those of you listening to us on your podcast providers, you are going to get the full spectrum. And at the end of all of this, we do have my TID's kick in the head this week. Not one, but two stars joining us. We're talking about a tag team called the Highlanders, former WWE superstars. And wow, Robbie and Rory break it down like you have never heard anything broken down before. The life and trials and tribulations of the Highlanders inside of the WWE and before to get there. I mean, this is like you've never heard before. So this is going to be a great one. I'm excited.
We can definitely forward. We can forward that transcript off to Johnny Ace's people right now, because there's a lot said about John Laurinaitis in that interview, amongst a whole bunch of other things, good things, positive things. Fantastic interview. Can't wait to hear that.
So that a whole lot more. Probably going to shoot some shit. We've got another classic clapback with KJ.
Oh, goodness.
This week.
Did he listen to the memo that we sent him about behaving? Because I haven't watched it yet. Have you watched any of this yet?
I can only hope that he has, but I mean, this is the world of professional wrestling and sports entertainment and combat sports and all of those things. And it doesn't, I mean, sometimes crazy things happen. Sometimes swerves hit even the best of us, Bradie.
Everybody's a character in this business, but okay, let's throw it to some sponsors, and when we get back, we'll hear from KJ and we'll go from there.
100%.
TotalSportCards.com, Canada's #1 stop for WWE, AEW, UFC, NHL, NBA, and NFL hobby boxes. Total Sport Cards always delivers the most sought-after products with the best price points in the market that you can find. Keep your collection up to date with TotalSportCards.com. TotalSportCards.com, proud sponsor of Sunday night's main event.
Have you checked out East End Hamilton's newest live music venue? Vertigogo is keeping DIY music alive in the 905. January 28th, Terry Green. February 3rd, Decade. February 4th, Punk Rock Matinee with Gag Order, and in the evening, Night of the Holy Spirit Drag Show. February 15th, Cheap Chocolates. February 23rd, Golden Shitters. March 8th, Sons of Arrakis. Vertigogo brought to you by F*** You 2 Productions. Fanatickets.com.
KJ. It is I, KJ Johnson, from the Colossal Tussle Podcast with this classic clapback with KJ. Let's talk about the Wrestling Classic from November 7th, 1985. And let's talk about JYD, the Junkyard Dog, and Moondog Spot. Two dogs going at it right there in the center of the ring. A horrible 45-second match. Dave Meltzer's first -5-star rated match. A 45-second squash match where the JYD delivers a couple of headbutts. 1, 2, 3. Back to the locker room. Follow that. Am I right? It was a great moment for a terrible wrestling show all the way around. First one on pay-per-view for the WWF as well. Speaking of which, our dear owner, Vince McMahon, he took Moondog Spot's bone home to experiment up the anal gland, if you know what I'm talking about. Okay, gotta go. Until next time. I'm KJ.
And we are back on the Law Live Audio Wrestling, and he did not listen to the memo we sent him.
I feel like maybe he did not even get the memo. But, I mean, you can't argue with that clapback. I mean, it was a classic. 45 seconds. Wow. Unbelievable. All right.
All right.
Listen, let's get into this. Let's talk about how wrestling fans, that's a perfect little segue if you think about it, Bradie, because he's talking about a match that lasted 45 seconds. It wasn't really something that was supposed to be, and probably, Dave Meltzer's first -5-star match. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
But this is the world of professional wrestling, and things like this really happen. Things like this, everybody's so pissed off because, as we saw in this past week, Cody Rhodes relinquishing his spot, as it were, I mean, no contract signings have been done yet. We haven't done that angle yet, right? To see who's working who. We haven't brought the table out and done the contract signings on the shows to see who's wrestling who yet, right? So
could be a
triple
threat.
A whole bunch of speculation. Well, but everybody's pissed off because The Rock has showed up, and everybody is assuming that The Rock is now going to wrestle Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, and Cody is going to take a back seat, so to speak, and wrestle Seth Rollins, an injured Seth Rollins, as it were.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What do you think?
I got a couple different takes on it. One of them is just from the Endeavor deal. So when they bought the UFC and Ronda had lost to Holly Holm during that buyout and that merger or whatever you want to call it, when Ronda decided to come back and fight Amanda Nunes, they played a pay-per-view trailer that had Amanda Nunes nowhere to be seen. So they just seen the star power. They focused in on that. They wanted the star power of Ronda Rousey. That was what they were selling the pay-per-view on.
Okay.
I believe that's kind of the approach here, but it's the beginning of February. Nothing has been decided yet.
No.
I think wrestling fans at this point just want to be pissed off at something every day.
Well, so pissed off, in fact, that the video of this, for whatever reason, what was it? 400,000 dislikes.
Dude, this is like the Bieber videos back in, like, you're just making everybody likes or dislikes. And if you're watching this on YouTube, we appreciate all of them. Likes or dislikes.
Y'all are a bunch of fickle bitches. I'm just saying.
I don't want to keep shitting on everybody, but yeah, this is pretty fickle.
At any given time, if you're given the opportunity to see The Rock and Roman Reigns and do that story, yeah, cool. You're all down with it. The only reason I think that people are down with it, or not down with it, I should say, is because Cody Rhodes has worked himself into such a babyface position that the crowd and the fans all want to just elevate this poor baby boy, this blonde, angelic baby boy up to finish his story because they get to decide when the frickin' story ends.
No, but this is the same group. I assume now, I don't know if they vary. Maybe there is tribalism and it splits down like the Red Sea, but this is the same group that was bitching about Bradie and Cody being on their TV on AEW for the last year and a half he was there. I'm assuming that's the same vocal Twitter group and same vocal Reddit and 4chan and YouTube comment sections and Facebook groups and public forums and threads and all over these other places where y'all want to fucking scream. I'm telling you, I think it comes down to they just want something to bitch at. You have the most important thing to bitch at right now, which is the worst stuff ever. Stay off of this.
Why do you think that the story, Cody needs to finish the story? Why does that story have to end at WrestleMania? We all saw the Zack Snyder recut, extra 72 hours of DC stuff. We all saw that, right? And everybody ate it up. Everybody loved it. So if it doesn't end at WrestleMania, maybe it doesn't end at WrestleMania this freaking year, people.
I've got it. Okay, you know what? That made me think. I got a serious question. I want you to give me a very take a second, just so we don't get in trouble. But where does R-Truth fall in all of this? That's what I want to know.
Are you serious?
As a hurt. Why is R-Truth not in the main event?
Well, because R-Truth doesn't have a briefcase or did not win the Royal Rumble. In fact, if you look back, he didn't even know that those were women in there.
Are you talking about The Rock?
And then try to hot tag.
Are you talking about The Rock? Because The Rock didn't win the Royal Rumble. The Rock doesn't have he's probably got a lot of briefcases, a lot of Halliburtons, full of a lot of money.
No, but The Rock does have something that nobody else does have in that situation. He's on the board. So
you said juice wrong. Actually, he came out looking pretty thin. Actually, he looked like he lost some mass. He looks like he's in worker shape.
Shredded.
Yeah, he looks really good. He looks a lot different than he did even a month ago when we seen him on TV. So I do think he's in a position now with whatever movie he was bulking up for. He's getting in shape. Now, do you think that he's going to do the same thing he did last time? He had some warm-up matches. Are we
No.
going to see some warm-up, like him and Cody tagging against,
No. I'm still not convinced that it's actually going to be Roman and The Rock at WrestleMania. I'm not convinced
front door.
I'm not convinced of this yet.
Who
What
do you
about
think it's going to be?
Could you imagine all three of those people that you saw in that picture inside of the ring at the same time? Could you imagine that Cody still gets this match against Roman, but the special guest referee is none other than The Rock, Dwayne Johnson?
No.
Why?
I don't hate the landscape that you just laid out, but I don't love it.
You don't have to.
I'd rather see The Rock versus the winner of Cody and Roman night one.
Okay.
If we're just going to play out, fantasy booking.
Do you honestly think that they can get away with doing like a night one and not even announcing something for a night two and having the night two just play out?
Yeah, we'll do the Brett and Lex thing, but they did that in one night at WrestleMania 10. But do that over 2 days.
This is what I'm saying.
This is what I'm saying.
This is what I'm saying. What if the story isn't supposed to be the finish for Cody? What if this isn't the end of the story? What if this story plays out until next year? What if this plays out to the point to where, Seth and Cody do work? And Cody does get that strap.
This has nothing to do with our truth.
And The Rock and hold on. And The Rock and Roman work. And Roman goes over. Then you've still got down the road. You've got another Money in the Bank match at a Money in a Bank pay-per-view coming up. R-Truth wins that briefcase. R-Truth finally gets fed up with Judgment Day, goes briefcase for briefcase battle at WrestleMania.
All right. Okay, people listening, we're not serious. We don't think R-Truth should be in the main. Well, I don't think that R-Truth should be in the main event, but I do kind of wish that he was.
That's asinine. And here's the other thing is nobody's even talking about the fact that the Swerve can come in at any given time and Damian Priest could cash in that Money in the Bank briefcase and throw a wrench in everybody's plans.
So
I love the fact that we're so deep into this in February and this isn't even happening until April.
But that's what's missing from back in the day. Like, if the fans are freaking out, and let's say they're justified either way, on either side, they want to see The Rock, they don't want to see The Rock, whatever it is this just hype for WrestleMania?
100%. And it's the best hype. It's the best hype for WrestleMania because of what's happening in the real world around that company right now.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And this company, because of all of the bad that is happening, is taking away the heat from every other company. You've got guys over in AEW busting their asses off over there. Now, here's another question. Here's another question that I have for you. Because of the change of the landscape, because now Vince is gone, because now you have THQ and you have Hunter and you have kind of this new regime, and there's all the old guard, you're going to see them getting picked out of the WWE. Boom, 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 gone. Does this give you a reason to have FTR come back to the WWE?
No, please, because Vince wanted to straddle them, not literally, but straddle them with a really crappy gimmick.
Okay.
I think that's one of the reasons why they left. I would love to see FTR come back and just be under Triple H's reign for a minute and see what he does with them, because I think he was a huge fan of them. I think you're seeing the tag division being pushed a little bit stronger than they have been in the past couple of years, and FTR would fit in perfectly. Speaking of people from AEW, could it possibly be even as early as Elimination Chamber? I would figure it might be more like WrestleMania or the Monday night following WrestleMania. Do we finally see MJF show up here?
It's too much right now.
It's too much.
It's too much right now. Like I think that listen, I think that MJF, if he shows up before WrestleMania, that'll be a snowball's chance in hell. Showing up at WrestleMania, I don't even think that is a thing.
They don't do that too often.
Timing could dictate that he ends up, pulling a Robbie McAllister and gets seen in the audience, maybe. Who knows?
Is that a segue to later on? If you're on YouTube, by the time you're done watching this, it'll be uploaded. If you're an audio listener, it'll be seamless. But yeah, we have the Highlanders coming on again today at the same time, which doesn't happen too often. To hear them telling their story at the exact same time is crazy. So they will get into things like TNA when they were spotted, or when Robbie was spotted in the crowd during that Monday Night War rehashing with Hogan during the Hogan days. But yeah, we'll get into that later on in the show. But okay, so let's take pro wrestling and put it on the side for a second.
Sure.
We had a UFC fight night last night.
It was unbelievable.
It actually was. It was the night of finishes, and the predictions for the fight night was also that it was going to be a night of finishes, and it definitely delivered. So I know I can see you scrambling there for your paperwork, but
no, I was looking for my phone.
Same thing nowadays, eh? I've got mine right in front of me.
I had it plugged in.
But Money Morricone, I guess, is that how you say his last name? Morricone?
Renato Moicano. Money Moicano.
That's what it is. Money Moicano. So I can't even say it when I know the pronunciation.
Moicano.
Moicano. I'm so Canadian.
Yeah. Money Moicano delivered last night. And listen, everybody knew that fight that they were going to have, him and Drew Dober, was going to be a classic fight. One hell of a fight. And listen, this was a fight that went back and forth. Like, it could have happened either way. Moicano ends up coming out of it, and you're like, okay, cool. It kind of went the way it was supposed to go, right? And then you realized, man, I'm glad this is on ESPN Plus, because it ain't on pay-per-view, and it wasn't making it to the air. I don't know. I'm glad I wasn't drinking and playing the UFC drinking game last night every time an F-bomb is dropped, because Money Moicano, he probably put referee Harry D to task with the amount of F-bombs that were dropped in that promo.
He didn't put Rory from the Highlanders to task. I'll tell you that much. Heads up, listeners, and later on in the show, Rory's
the best part that I took away from it is he's so passionate. He's so fired up. He's so, my dad, he's talking about his dad at 62 years old is having a baby. And so he's going to go home and make another baby, because if his dad can have a baby at 62, he can have one too. Okay, first of all, your dad ain't having the baby. His girlfriend is. And I don't, maybe it ain't his, bro. Because I don't know how you make a baby with powdered milk.
He's definitely, so he's done this a few times. He's great. He's very quiet leading up to the fight. And then once he gets into the fight, he's a dog. And then his interviews afterwards never cease to. So there was, I forget who he was fighting, but the one guy, he tapped somebody out in the first round, and the guy's like, I wanted to fight you for 3 rounds. He's like, well, why did you tap then? He was like getting mad at him. He said, you should have kept going. Like, you shouldn't have tapped, and we would have kept going. I was ready. Like, he was so mad at the guy for catching him in a submission, or for him catching the guy in the submission. So
now take this the other way, because there was another wonderful promo. Charles Radke ends up getting his win again, and he's kind of working himself, like he's trying to be like, oh, I'm a real Colby Covington, here to make America great kind of guy. And even in the presser afterwards, he was like, begging for the $50,000 bonuses and telling everybody he's broke, and saying that he should basically, implying that he should get paid to do interviews. He's kind of working himself into that real life heel spot, But the problem is that after he said that about the interview thing at the presser, there was no more questions. And he was like, no, none. Good. I'm out. I'm trying to get some pizza up in here. Boom. And he bounces. That's not the guy that's going to be consistently used for these pressers. I don't care if you're winning or not, because the press will just sit there and be like, no, I got nothing for you. And then what do you got? Then it's just a headache, right?
Well, the highlight for me, and I think we're looking at a future star here, and Themba.
Wow.
Oh my goodness. 23 seconds. I believe it was 23 seconds in.
Yeah.
It was like a pumpkin getting hit by a baseball bat.
He, listen, if you talk about between that and the knockout that Rude Boy Randy Brown laid down.
Randy Brown, man.
Unbelievable, these guys. And the fact that, okay, and all of this aside, the main event was unbelievable. You had a kick to a downed opponent that sparked off almost a fight between the corners, because Chris Curtis on the outside has had heat with the guy fighting in the ring, and everything's about to break down, and it's mayhem. It's a crazy night of fights, and that wasn't even the coolest part. I don't know about you, Bradie, but the coolest part for me, the absolute coolest part for me, was watching Meatball Molly McCain look so incredibly good. The fact that she's dropped down to 115 pounds and just looked like an absolute murderer at that weight.
She's always been great. She's always
been good. Mm-hmm. Always been good. But her intensity, her focus, her drive, her everything in this fight last night, man, she is on a next level right now.
Well, am I an asshole by saying that she'd probably whoop Patty's ass?
Well, listen. If she fights the way that she fought last night, she's going to be whooping a lot of ass.
I don't think we've talked about Patty too much in detail on the show. What do you think about Paddy Pimblett? Do you think he's overhyped?
I think we haven't found out about that. I think that up to this point, he's not the first guy that the UFC has taken who doesn't have a full repertoire of credentials or an arsenal of
arsenal's a good one.
Techniques.
He doesn't have a full arsenal.
Techniques.
No.
He's not the first guy that they've done that with, but they see the star potential and they try to make that happen for them. The fortunate thing is, up to this point, Paddy Pimblett has been able to win. Sean O'Malley has been able to win. Right? There's been these guys that they've been able to do this with. Paulo Costa was one of those guys. That didn't work out so well for him.
Mm-mm.
Right? They've had these guys in the past that as soon as they lose, boom, that was it. Right? So as long as Paddy Pimblett keeps winning, everybody's going to keep loving him, except for the haters.
The train is chugging along. We're moving towards the infamous, and we talk about it every week, UFC 300.
Sure. So here's the question. Because we have 1,000,001 matches. We don't have a main event.
Mm-mm.
Who's going to headline UFC 300? Right? And why are they going to be the ones to headline UFC 300? Everybody's talked about a lot of reasons for it. Well, here's the thing that you have to remember. There is a championship bout. There's 2 belts already being fought for on this. There's the ever so illustrious BMF belt. If that ain't a draw.
Throw in the garbage, man.
Like that the belt in the trash. Means absolutely nothing on that, right? And then you talk about listen, you talk about the fact that you've got the women's championship that is also going to be defended on there, right?
Mm-hmm. Zhang, right? Zhang Weili?
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Problem is there's not a draw there yet. So you need to have something that's going to be a title fight or is going to be so big that it surpasses the fact that there's a title fight.
Fill me in on some of the rumors and some of the listeners if they haven't heard the news of a couple names, a couple
we've
fights.
heard it been going back and forth. The fact, over and over for the last little while. Conor McGregor's going to fight at UFC 300. Conor McGregor's going to fight at UFC 300.
I called that in the summer.
Which makes complete sense, because if you think about what have been the top 5 grossing UFC pay-per-views of all time, Conor McGregor's name is on every one of those. So if you're going to have a fight, that headlines a card of this kind of magnitude that isn't a title fight, he's the guy that you have out there for it. Nobody gives a shit at this point if Conor's going to win or Conor's going to lose. But against a guy like Michael Chandler, right? That's probably his best bet inside of that weight class, unless you talk about the fact that there might be the story that we're hearing that they might be getting rid of finally a weight class and moving a couple weight classes around and starting a new weight class. UFC 300 could be unprecedented going forward if they do stuff like this.
The rumor mill is turning right now, and the direction that it is turning in is 165, a new title.
Mm-hmm.
Conor McGregor versus Nate Diaz 3.
Unbelievable. So you still have Conor at the top of this story right there.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's without a title. If you talk about with a title, you talk about the obvious, the fact that DDP just won a title. The story is there because you got to have a story involved as well. There's got to be something to sell this, right?
Well, you need a freak show fight.
Israel Adesanya against DDP for that title at 300. We've talked about this in the past as well. That's something that is excitable. That's something that is palatable. That is something that is sellable. And now you've got the fact that the new one coming into the mix is Leon Edwards. Leon Edwards and Bilal Muhammad too. Bilal Muhammad, who is undeniably the guy who should be in line for that title against Leon Edwards. No doubt about it. There's a history there. It's the only fight that Bilal Muhammad has lost in like 372,000 years. And it was, let's get realistic. That's the fight that he needs. But there's not enough juice behind that story. Ladies and gentlemen, as much as I try to say to you, that's a great fight. I love that. And that fight could main event UFC 301. No questions asked.
There's a bit of money that needs to be made on somebody's contract that it's not going to be made through one doorway. The Wolves are hungry. There is one particular wolf with the last name Aspinall that is hungry for a fight at UFC 300. I do not think he's getting the big man John Jones. Do we throw some meat to these wolves by getting Brock Lesnar paid and completely removed from the Endeavor landscape now? Get what you need out of him. You don't have to break contracts. He goes in there. He's a sacrificial lamb. Because I think Tommy Aspinall would run circles around Brock within 2 minutes.
That is a thing that would piss off so many people in the WWE Universe and the IWC. Absolutely 100%. Because this is what it does. If he goes in there and takes that fight with Tom Aspinall, you have to know at that point he's done. He's not going back to the world of the WWE. And if he doesn't go back to the world of the WWE, he's done with wrestling. So it's going to have to be a huge payday because, yes, I agree. Tom Aspinall starches him.
And sends him off to the sun. He rides off in the sunset in Saskatchewan.
100%. Don't get it twisted. Love me some Brock Lesnar. He's a freak of nature, and he's done fantastic things inside of both sports. The way that he has elevated that, that's absolutely a name that I would throw into the ring.
Well, now he's got Greg Hardy, right?
Does Brock really have Greg Hardy heat?
He always did to the hardcore MMA fans.
There's no court case.
No, I'm just talking about people that are buying pay-per-views.
This is a public opinion. This is a court of public opinion at the end of the day, whereas like the Greg Hardy thing was like, that actually went, was supposed to go to court.
I'm not talking about the specific details and the technicalities behind why. I'm talking about the image from a fan base watching in from the mass. From the mass, the average person, if Brock gets booked, people are going to be in the corner of Tom Aspinall saying, drop this motherfucker. Like, get him out of here.
They've been in that corner ever since the beginning.
Yeah, since day one with Brock.
against Brock Lesnar. They did it in that first fight with Frank Mir, and you even saw with the refereeing, and that was like, nah, I don't see a tap. I don't care if it's on my own face. I don't see it. You saw that in every single one.
From
Even
Randy Couture, he had heat. He had heat when he did
Overeem,
the fight with Alistair, the
Kane fight,
Shane
sure.
Carwin. People were like, Shane's gonna rip his head off. Like no one ever gave Brock a chance. And even with the Mark Hunt thing, he got a lot of heat after testing pissing hot. And Mark went on his campaign for how many years, right?
Still on it.
Yeah,
he's still on it. So, I mean, yeah, that absolutely is a name that you could throw out there for UFC 300. Again, around the same time as WrestleMania. Ladies and gentlemen, this spring is going to be dope as hell, Bradie.
What's AEW doing this spring?
They'll probably have 37 pay-per-views, all within the span of a week. I mean, who knows? Because
I don't want to hate on AEW. I think they
have
the opportunity right now to really – whatever fan base they lost, like that hardcore, let's say I don't even want to call them the internet fan base. I'm not trying to be. AEW has a chance right now. They're never going to surpass WWE. It's not going to happen. It's not even the same. It's apples to oranges, right? So it's all fruit, but it's apples to oranges. I do think they have an opportunity right now that if people that are sour on the industry and sour on Vince and sour on the process could go over there and learn how to enjoy wrestling for the short time until WrestleMania season.
Right.
Tony, do some stuff. Get Eddie Kingston on your TV more. Get FTR in a more predominant role. Take the Young Bucks out back and put a bullet in them. Give Sting a proper send-off. Like, there's things you can do right now to make everybody happy and make your TV enjoyable. Speaking of oranges, let's squeeze that one for a second, Orange Cassidy, and do something different with him for, a bit.
Is that what it is? Do you think that they're like some of the characters that made AEW what it was or what it is, maybe they're getting stale? Maybe they need to switch it up. Can you imagine if you saw an Orange Cassidy go full heel? Like just full blown heel?
Yeah, work for Luchasaurus.
And start working faster than everybody? Like just completely change everything up out the gate.
Mm-hmm.
Right? This is the season that we're seeing stuff like that happen. You talk about like there, stuff happening in AEW. You got stuff happening over in Impact as well, where we're seeing Cody Deaner, guy who was just on here, talking about him and his partner there, the design, right? Kron is saying that the design is dead. So you've seen this happening. So you're going to see some evolution of characters. You're going to see some changing up of characters. I think, you have to. AEW definitely has to, because I think that some of those guys, here's always been my kind of thing with AEW is I don't think that there's not enough middle of the road. There's not enough mid-card guys. Okay.
What?
And I don't mean that. Hold on. Hear me out here.
I feel like that's all they have.
No. Hear me out here. And I mean this in maybe a different way, because you have a lot of guys who have that high star power. You have your Stings, your John Moxleys, your Kenny Omegas. You have those guys that were the A side of the entire company. Right. Okay. And then they filled it up and they brought in a bunch of younger talent to fill it up. A bunch of your Darby Allens, a bunch of your Luchasauruses, a bunch of your, Jack Perry's, and then brought in a Punk over there. But there was always this, you had like two locker rooms. You know what I mean? You had these really big names and these people that weren't really big names. There was never like this growth period. I think it always just kind of felt that way. So you still have a company that is just full of hungry young talent wanting to get noticed. Right. But the world of professional wrestling wants to have that old guard there alongside of them, so to speak, to show them along the way, because it's a matter of comfort as well when you're watching those shows.
Well,
so yes, this is a perfect time to take somebody like an FTR and elevate them to that next level. Absolutely elevate them to that next level.
Speaking of comfort, hunger, if we want to be comfortable and not stay hungry, we're going to have to take a quick sponsor break. I believe we have another message from our friend KJ, our lovely intern. Let's hope that doesn't get us banned from YouTube or Spotify. We'll be back right after this here on the Law Live Audio Wrestling.
Are you in the market for a used vehicle for your family or business? North Toronto Auction hosts public auctions twice a month, and everyone's invited. Hundreds of cars, trucks, SUVs, commercial vehicles, and heavy equipment are available. Plus, travel trailers, motorcycles, snowmobiles, ATVs, and more. View the entire selection at northtorontoauction.com. Bid online or bid in person. Bid on items from government agencies, financial companies, fleet managers, car dealers, and public consigners. For more information, visit us online at northtorontoauction.com.
Hey, did you know that Saturday, February 24th, Destiny World Wrestling returns to Oshawa and the Children's Arena for Destiny's Reckless?
Is that the event featuring the indie god himself, Matt Cardona?
You bet it is.
I heard he's not going to be there alone. I heard Steph DeLander's showing up. I heard Fight or Flight is showing up. Vanna Black, Parazep, Lindsay Dorado, and a whole bunch more.
Man, you better get your tickets now. They're on sale at www.destinywrestling.ca.
Don't miss out. Hit that subscribe button to get all the latest from the Law Live Audio Wrestling. Now back to the show.
I'm KJ. Hello, it is I, KJ Johnson from the Colossal Tussle Podcast with this classic clap back with KJ, and we are talking WrestleMania 2, baby. There is more arenas, more lights, more glitz, more glamour, more celebrities, more action, and in this bit, from April 7th, 1986, in the Rosemont Horizon, the opener was hot and heavy with the WWF Women's title match, Fabulous Moolah and Velvet McIntyre kicking it off right as we mean to go on in a 1 minute and 25-second match, with the ending being of the Great Moolah Flop for the victory, and ushering in the Women's Revolution, if you know what I'm talking about, as only Fabulous Moolah can do, as well as on this day, McMahon versus Moolah, the first ever donkey dick sucking competition. And until next time, I've been KJ Johnson. I'm KJ.
Well, I do want to say that this is all speculation, and the views of that of KJ and the Colossal Tussle Podcast, albeit hilarious as hell, are those of his own. You can send that hate mail to the law-liveaudiowrestling@gmail.com, and we will be happy to answer those for you. Ooh. Wow.
He's fired. We got to fire him.
I won't do it. I won't do it. And you know why I won't do it, Bradie? 2 reasons. Number 1, we don't keep no leashes on our boys around here.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And number 2, free speech.
Okay.
Free speech.
Okay, KJ, your job is safe for another week.
Yeah, I can't make any promises for next week because who knows? I might not even be around. Well, listen.
Going from one deviant to another deviant.
Yeah.
Let's have a quick talk. Like I said, if you want to hear in detail, you can go to the Law-Live Audio Wrestling and check out our half-an-hour talk on this matter. But real quick, can Vince McMahon stay out of jail? Chris, what do you think?
Convince. Well, I think that's the word right there. Is he's going to have to do some heavy convincing. Mm-hmm. See what I did there? Dad jokes. No, listen, I personally think that Vince avoids jail on this the same way that he always has up to this point. Anytime any of these allegations, anytime any of these situations arise, he pays them out. That's exactly what's going to happen again. The unfortunate thing is all of this stuff is going to be out in the news. It's going to be a while. It's going to get really, really nasty. And I think that that's going to be, once again, paid out, and that'll be the end of it. I don't think that, but the only thing is you won't see him around the world of wrestling anymore.
That's a shame. Well, and I'm not that he's not around the world of wrestling. I mean, it's a shame that he's not going to do any time. I do believe, his mom lived to 90 something, or 100 years old, right? So she was like 99. I think if he lives that long, he should spend his time behind bars and everybody else that was involved.
How old is he now?
70. I think he's almost 80.
Yeah.
20 years.
I think personally that as well as I do that he's got enough money that this whole thing could end up dragging on for years and years and years.
Does he just get on a plane and fuck off to Dubai?
To the point where the plaintiff will run out of money and then going to need some money, and Vince will be right back to point A and be like, listen, we stopped this whole thing. You take this wheelbarrow that used to be a truckload, you take this wheelbarrow full of money and you bugger off someplace.
Well, people with law degrees and, law backgrounds and people with badges and little flip badges and all that kind of stuff, they're involved now. So
I don't got none of that.
No.
I don't got none of those things. But you know what I do got? I do got a minute or two inside of a courtroom. All right. So I can tell you straight up that there's going to be, I don't care what book you put out there, care that you call it the Bible, it's going to be lies. There's going to be lies to be able to get out of this on both parts. There's going to be lies to make people look bad. There's going to be lies to make yourself look good. So at the end of the day, this is going to get gross and it's going to get ugly. But I think that how Vince McMahon stays out of jail is with money. Same way that he got into this situation is the same way that he gets out of this situation, with money. And then everybody else has just had something to talk about for the last however many months it is that this goes on for. We've taken away everything we've loved from the world of professional wrestling and put all of the energy into this, when everybody should just be out there focusing on the fact that you love this wrestling stuff so much that it doesn't matter who the leader of the fucking ship is.
Yeah, goddamn it.
Get out there and support it. Let this courtroom shit play itself out, people.
Yeah, no, here's the thing. If we even say this is the last time we're talking about it, something else is going to happen. By Tuesday, we'll have a video or audio out.
Yeah, it won't be I'm not going to say it's going to be the last time we're going to talk about it, because it won't be the last time we're going to talk about it. Right?
So stay tuned, kids, for more criminal activity here on The Law, live audio wrestling.
All right. Thanks, Prospector Joe, you son of a bitch.
Well, I don't know. I feel like I'm. If anybody has been listening to us consistently, they don't want to hear my take on this anymore. Like I said, I've said everything I can say. I think if 10% of this is true, lock him the fuck up.
Well, listen. If that's the case, then let the courts do what they're supposed to do. And
let's go.
I don't want to hear anybody bitching about anything if it doesn't happen the way that they want it to happen.
Can we start a Vince McMahon death pool?
Nope.
I think he's dead within the year.
Nope. I don't do any more of those death pools because both of the Olsen twins are still alive and they've cost me a lot of money over the years.
Okay, we got to take another quick little commercial. We have another message from our intern. If we're going to get canceled, we might as well do it all together in the same block. When we come back, we'll do a little quick preview of the Highlanders, and then we'll get our audio listeners off to that, and our YouTube listeners will close this out, and it should be available for you by the time this is done. So, stay tuned here on The Law, live audio wrestling.
Do you have a podcast? Are you looking for high-profile guests for your show but don't know how to get in touch with them? Go to podstars.net. That's podstars.net. For less than $9 a month, you can get access to a huge selection of celebrity guests, like wrestling superstar The Blue Meanie, to musicians like Marty Ray, and even actors like Tom Arnold. Podstars is the place to go to connect with everything you need for your podcast. So go to podstars.net with a Z to get signed up. At podstars.net, you'll be happy that you did.
I'm KJ. It is I, KJ Johnson, and this is your classic clapback with KJ. Talk about King of the Ring 1998. And I know what you're thinking. You want to talk about the Hell in a Cell. No Undertaker and Mankind here. I want to talk about another first, and that be when history was made with too much. Brian Christopher and Scott Taylor taking on Al Snow and the Head. It was a first time ever in the center of the ring where our dear Brian Christopher covered Head with a bottle of Head and Shoulders. The Head had shoulders. The Head had shoulders. Do you get it? Because I certainly do. And our proud papa, Jerry Lawler, was there to count the pinfall to keep on going with his Hall of Fame career. Oh, and by the way, Vince McMahon fucked a chicken to death with the big boss man's nightstick. Until next time, classic clapbacks with KJ. I'm KJ.
We're back here on the Law, live audio wrestling. All right, that last one got me. I like the last one. The nightstick, But KJ, okay, next week, if you're because I know he watches the show. KJ, no more Vince talk. Just give us a highlight of some point of history, and that's it.
Well, there you have it, folks. There you have it.
The show's falling apart. I love it.
No, it was never together in the first place. Who are we kidding? It's hard to fall apart when you don't have anything holding it together.
Well, anyone that listened to the Law for like the past 15 years when it was in the hands of different hosts, they're like, this isn't the same show. And we're like, no, we're going back to when it started in the 90s.
Yeah.
This is the way. This is originally the Law, guys. This is how it was.
Unbelievable. Wow.
Right.
Unreal. All right. So listen. Thank you so much. We've covered a lot of stuff. I do want to mention very quickly, because we didn't get to talk about it when we were talking about the world of combat sports, is that we are only one event away from UFC 298. The wheels are in motion. 298, 299, 300. We're into that field. This is the road to 300. It's the UFC's, kind of like their answer to the road to WrestleMania. Right?
Yeah.
We're on the road to 300 right now. And coming up is a fight night. Listen, if you missed this last one, don't miss the next one, where it's Jack Hermanson, and Joe Pyfer. Joe Pyfer, look, he's looking to get himself into the rankings, and this middleweight main event this is Pyfer's chance. I don't know if you know this or not. Joe Pyfer actually, rumor has it, Joe Pyfer actually beat Francis Ngannou at that punch power machine that they have. Right?
Well, the company's behind him. I think Dana even bought him a house.
Jack Hermanson is a guy who needs to get this win, because his last fight was him losing to Roman Dolidze, the guy who just lost this past weekend. Right. So this is a perfect chance. Listen, we all know that MMA math doesn't really map out all that well. So don't try to do it. It's just a matter of, throwing stuff. It's a matter of making sure that you're in the right place at the right time. Another big this card coming up is going to be Dan Ige and Andre Touchy-Feely. I mean, that's a hell of a fight in itself. Brad Tavares is fighting. Michael Johnson is going to be fighting on this card. We're talking about a guy who's 22-19, right? We've got so many fights coming up that they've had to put some of these guys on these other cards. The UFC is doing amazing fights right now. So it goes without saying that we want to go out there and check all of that stuff out as well. Now, that being said, we also have a night coming up where it's going to be the PFL versus Bellator, basically.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
These fights are coming up where they've got champs versus champs. And so we're going to break that down a little bit more as we get closer. Probably next week, we'll break that down a little bit more. Now, Bradie, let's talk a little bit about our friends that are coming up in this week's episode of TID's A Kick in the Head.
Robbie and Rory.
I don't know if this has ever happened, in talking to them. If it has happened, it has been many, many years since the two of them have sat down together. Now, I know that they've done different podcasts and shows, separately, but they've never done one together. So the fact that we were able to pull this off and get the two of them together to talk about the stuff that they talked about. Holy crap. Everything from getting duped for thousands of dollars. Okay, I don't know. Listen, secret time?
Yeah.
Everybody close it. Real close. Get close to your speakers because I didn't want to say this when we were talking about it with those guys. The amount of money that they paid to get into the wrestling business, the person that they paid that to, I didn't give them a dime. Not one penny.
Okay, you're creeping me out. Yeah, no, you didn't pay them. No, so you get that in the beginning of the interview. Rory specifically talks about the amount of money that it cost him to go from Scotland here to Canada, just training to wrestle. It is one of the craziest. I've never heard of anyone paying that much money to get into the business outside of being a promoter.
It's insane. It's insane, the cost. And I don't know if it was completely paid to that person, but the cost that it took for him to follow his dream was unreal. The amount of money it did pay off because he ended up on TV with Roddy Piper in his home country working for the WWE. That is unbelievable. The talk that we have about them and their undying love for one Johnny Ace is wow.
That's a lie. They don't love Johnny Ace. I got the exact opposite when I previewed the episode.
I
feel like they don't like Johnny Ace very much.
I mean, that might be the case. My bad.
Well, we'll have to find out together. Audio listeners, like we said, it's seamless. We've said it so many times you don't want to hear it anymore. It will be right after this. To our YouTube listeners, find it in our archive here when you're done listening to this, if you've gotten this far. So this will be one of many. We're definitely going to have them back on because we just, hit the tip of the iceberg with these guys. So stay tuned for the Highlanders, former WWE tag team superstars. And Chris, I just want to say thanks for having me on as your co-host again. Thank you very much to the listeners, watchers, wherever you're finding us on wrestlemania Radio, whether that's YouTube, iHeartRadio, iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your stuff. That's it for me. You got anything you want to say before we roll this ride out?
Well, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see that little scrolly thing telling you to go over to my YouTube channel, which is at TidTalk, TIDTALK. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter. I'm not calling it X yet because I don't believe in it. And that is at Notorious TID, all one word. You can check all of that stuff out. Other than that, you know what? I think it's been one hell of a day. It's been one hell of a week. Whoo! It can only get better from here. So Bradie, thank you so much. As always, this is the Law Live Audio Wrestling. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, always remember, the only way you're not going to get knocked out is tuck that chin. I fought the Lord,